Today I have with me an box, and in this box I have the potential for magic. It's the new ultra-hyped in-ear headphone, the Softears Volume S. And this is one that everybody is saying is the next big thing. But is it? Is it? Well, in today's video, we're going to open it up, we're going to give it a listen, and we're going to find out. All right, so I'm going to open up this box and I'm going to give you guys a bit of context for why this IEM is interesting or important. But before doing that, I just want to shout out, there is a review that we've already put together from Listener up on headphones.com. So if you want to get an additional opinion, not just mine, which I would encourage you to do, I'll of course link this in the description. And as always, these videos are made possible by headphones.com. So if you like what we do here and you want to support us, consider checking out headphones.com for your next audio purchase. It has a whole bunch of educational deep dives up on the site as well if you're interested in learning about this stuff, why we evaluate this way, and also it's a great place to buy headphones with a massive, ridiculous 365-day return policy. Okay, let us get into the box here, and I'm just going to open this up with this trusty knife and hopefully not impale myself. It's always a risk, you never know. So as I'm opening this up, I'm just going to talk a little bit about this and why this is interesting. Oh Jesus, everything is falling. What just fell? It's a USB-C to headphone jack dongle. I don't think we're going to need that today. I'm going to use my favorite digital audio player today, the Questyle M15, and my phone. So why is this interesting? Well, for folks who've been following this stuff a little bit more closely, you will probably know that there was always this debate about, you know, like, there's the Harman tunings that everybody was saying was good because there was evidence that people liked this tuning, but then there were all the rest of us saying, no, that's got it's too bright, it's got too much ear gain, all that kind of stuff. And then these IEMs started coming out that were tuned a little bit more closely to what we might say is appropriate for an average ear. So it balanced things out a little bit more. It had a little bit more of a natural presentation with not as much ear gain, not as bright, not as much of that sort of like, ah! And ever since IEMs that had this new style of tuning came out, people have been loving them. I'm thinking, of course, of IEMs like the High Senior Megafest, the Dusk Default DSP, the Kiwi Ears KE4, there's the Dunu Da Vinci, and there's a bunch of others. And there's actually a bunch of other IEMs, older IEMs, that also would fit with this style of tuning. And many of them are now being more well understood as being good, or we understand now the reasons why they're good, because we have a better sense of what the average human ear likes at the eardrum of that average human. And actually, for anybody who's been following the science, we now have evidence that indicates that this style of tuning is equally preferred as what you get with Harman. And for all of you guys who were saying, no, it must match Harman IE, otherwise it's terrible, told you so. Okay, let's get into the IEM here. So, time to open this up. Let's see what we get. I'm greeted directly with the IEM right here, the Volume S. That's what it looks like. You first get it in the box. This is a very nice feeling case. The leather here is softer and squishier than what I am typically used to with this style of case, so that's nice. It's got that nice feeling to it. Just push into this leather. Yeah, I'm all about the leather. Let's open this up. These, you're supposed to eat these. Don't eat these. What is in here? These are the ear tips. The ear tips. So, by the time you guys are watching this, I will have done the measurements of the Softears Volume S on the B&K 5128, and I will have left those linked in the description, so if you don't care about anything that I'm saying right here, you can just skip to that if you want, or just click the link in the description. That'll be up on the forum at forum.headphones.com. And yeah, I will have measured it with both sets of tips. But that is it that you get in the box. Let me just go through these. This is stuff that you probably don't care about, but is nice to have. What is, this is for the tuning thing. Okay, so you can get two different tunings there. So this has a little flathead on the end, and presumably you can use this to change the tuning of the IEM. This isn't the first time that I've come across an IEM that has multiple different tunings. Like, there are ones that have the dip switches on them, but this is slightly different in the sense that this is set inward, and you require this little tool to be able to switch it, or something like this to be able to switch the tuning. So we'll find out which tuning is best. This cable is a braided cloth-ish style cable, it feels like. It feels fine to me. It's a cable. No immediate issues right away. And then you get your 2-pin connectors, little R indicator here with the red. It's all nice. Chin cinch is a bit stiff, but it seems to work just fine. All right, so this is the Softears Volume S IEM. This is a much lighter IEM than I was expecting. I suppose that's a good thing. One consideration here for these IEMs, I've had Softears IEMs in the past where the nozzle was very protrudy, difficult to actually fit in my ears and was uncomfortable. So I'm curious how this one is going to do for its ergonomics. So it's about 5.4 millimeters for most of it, let's just say. And then where the nozzle connects to the shell, it is at 6.9. But for most of it's about 5.4. It's sort of a straight nozzle without a lip. And we're looking at around 4.4 millimeters in depth. So for ear tips, we've got clear ones and we got more grayish ones. Let's try these ones first. I'm a medium ear tips kind of guy. So let's try these out, see if they fit me. And we'll listen to some music. So far, it's definitely more comfortable than the previous Softears IEM that I have evaluated. What was the name of it? Can't remember. See, it didn't matter. Let's give it a listen. So I have two playlists on Tidal right now. You can check them out. I've also linked in the description. One of them is called Resolves Test Tracks, and these are ones that I use to evaluate the products. And then I have another list that's called Resolves Tracks for Fun, and that's just for fun. But first, I'm going to go through my test tracks and see if there's anything that disqualifies this for me. So I'm listening to Eric Clapton's Change the World, and this is a track that I use regularly as a disqualifier because I find that its percussive sounds are a little bit brighter recorded, or the way that the mix is. And if there's an elevation somewhere in the playback equipment in the treble, this track will reveal that. And so far, this is totally fine. This is totally innocuous. I also am noticing right away that there's a lot of body and warmth to the sound here, which I like. It sounds like there's still lots of bass. It sounds like intense and punchy for the bass. Let me move on to something else here. I'm going to go to another thing I'm going to test actually for bass and that sense of dynamism. It's for bass punch, basically. I'm going to go to Michael Walney's Little Person. The way the drums hit here is good. So listen for that with this one. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. This sounds super intense for the bass. Yeah. Holy shit. Okay, I'm gonna keep listening. Let me just actually do the little tuning switch here and just see what the effect is. So I've turned it clockwise. The tuning switch. Now, okay, general opinion here on the tuning switch. It's fine. I think both modes are fine. You get one mode that is like more bassy, warmer, less bright, and another one that is more bright, less bassy, colder, and more analytic. And that makes sense to do, right? You know, I don't think that necessarily one is always going to be preferred, but for me, I definitely prefer the bassier one because the way that the bass is handled here, it is more of a linear rise, less of a distinct shelf, but it's done in a way that is tasteful. It's not so much bass that it drowns out the rest of the tuning here. The bass is sneaky bassy. I'll put it that way, at least for these tracks that I'm listening to, and I like it. But here's one complaint. Take a look at the little switches here. You would look at this and you would think that one of them is not correct. They are correct. Like the little switch here is aligned with the sort of horizontal profile here, and on the other one it is aligned with the vertical profile. But this is how it's supposed to be. So I'm just going to switch it back here. Maybe this doesn't matter, but this is one thing where I'm like, why wouldn't it be the same on both units? Maybe I'm probably just being a picky boy. How are you supposed to know? How are you supposed to know? You know, like this is now the more bassy tuning, but like, would you know that just from looking at it? I wouldn't. Polyphia, Playing God. This is a more sort of like intense, transient kind of thing. That's too loud. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. Yeah, this is remarkably intense. Like it's got that slam. If you guys remember, I really liked the Truthier Hexa. This has a similar kind of sound profile to that one with more bass, way more intense bass, and less of that sort of glare that would come forward in the lower treble. That's kind of what this sounds like to me. Let's listen to something with electric guitars. All right, so just listen to a track called Empire by Wheel. This doesn't do it for me in this track. There is something in the treble that is a bit much for me, or it's a bit imbalanced for me in a certain region of the treble for this track in particular. Perceptually for me, it's about where I like it to be, but there is still something here coming across a little bit on the strident side, we might call it. There's a bit of that sort of like extra growl. I'm just using words. Again, the measurements won't necessarily reveal this because this has to do with what I know to be true about my ear canal. For the nerds, I normally have a length mode resonance at around 6.1 kilohertz that bothers me on most IEMs that doesn't show up on the graph. You don't care. All right, time to swap to the other tips here. I think it looks kind of cool with the clear tips. Let's see if they sound any different. Back to that song I was listening to before. This doesn't sound all that different. That might be something that you might want to mess around with. If the black tips don't work for you, try the clear ones. They don't sound really all that different, except maybe a little bit different in the treble to me. I imagine that they perform similarly, but your mileage may vary. So try tip swapping. So if I had to put some words on it here, it does have a fairly natural presentation. This sounds more like resolving to me than something like the High Senior Megafest, for example. But there is still something in the treble, for me, probably a length mode resonance, and you don't need to care about what that is. I do feel that for me, the treble is handled a little bit better by something like the Dusk Default DSP. I would say this is a more engaging sounding IEM than the Dusk Default DSP and all of those other ones that do well for, again, this kind of tuning. So I can see why the hype is there for this one. I think the hype is real, but that does it for this first impression. As always, make sure you guys get your information, get more complete information than what I've given you here. Make sure you watch all the other reviews that are out there or read them and see what other folks are saying, not just me, because I have my ears, you have your ears, other people have their ears, and everybody has their own way of approaching this stuff. So that does it for this video. If you're looking for the measurements, that will be posted in the link in the description. And also, you can chat with me and other like-minded audio people on our Discord, also linked below. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye for now.